Hey, everybody, welcome to the show this evening. This is Terry with NSPS TV Paranormal. Uh, Man, I'm having some really bad technical difficulties today. I don't know what's going on. It's a perfect, clear 85 degrees here in Texas. I cannot see what is going on with the computer today. I got all kinds of screens going off and on, and it's weird. The delay, and there's a lot of things going on, but you know, show must go on. That's what I always say. Guys, today I am in Iowa. I had a guy that was uh, came on the show last week that was from Iowa. He counseled on me. So today I'm back in Iowa in a little town called Latte, Iowa, with a gentleman named Matt Madison. Matt Madison's a very interesting guy. He's also law enforcement, and he's a paranormal investigator. And before the day is gone, I'm going to see if I can get him to become a member of MUFON, because there's some things I think that MUFON needs to look at, because he showed me a great picture of something that I cannot even try to explain what happened to it. Anyway, Matt, go ahead and introduce yourself, brother.
I'm Matt Madsen. I'm one of the founders of Boma Paranormal. My kids, my three kids are actively involved with my investigations. Like you said, I'm in law enforcement. Before that, I was a paramedic for 20 some years, and in the military, police, and the Air Force. So I've been around the block, and I've had many encounters prior to getting into paranormal investigating.
Well, first things first, thank you for your service. My dad was in Vietnam, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, all the way to the end until he passed away in Vietnam. So, hey, God, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
With that being said, man, I'm ready to dive right into this picture that you sent, because it's a very interesting picture. When you first hit me, that you guys that don't know, Matt's in a picture of a cattle mutilation of a cow that was precisionally cut. I mean, dude, there's no way nobody on this planet can cut that precise. And it stopped me when I first seen it, and I know it stopped him when he first seen it. So, Matt, tell me what your first thoughts when you first came upon that cattle, and what was your mind when you seen it?
The first thing that came to my mind was, this is crazy. I see stuff on TV all the time, but to come upon it myself, I was awestruck, but yet confused, because we don't have a lot of that stuff around here. And then to come to find out that this lady had 20 years ago cow similarly killed, but she never reported that one to law enforcement.
Okay, so what made her want to report this particular mutilation at this particular time?
Well, they said that somebody said that they saw lights in the field, and so she brought the cow up, and she's just thought it was so odd. And being that this was the second one she had, she thought she probably should have make a report of this incident.
Wow, like you said, man, those things are far and few in Iowa. Did you have to make a report? You went out there. Did you have to make a report on that? How did that whole scenario go through with you and law enforcement?
So what I did is I took pictures of the scene and everything. I took pictures of obviously you saw of the cow, and the cuts. I sent the pictures to several veterinarians. My co-founder of Boma, he sent it. He's in the animal industry, and he sent it to several of his cohorts and everything. And nobody had ever seen a precise cut that was cauterized like that was ever before.
Now, can't something that's cauterized, man, extreme amount of heat. I mean,
Yes.
the pressure. I mean, the heat that will cause something like that. Man, gotta be over 2,000 degrees, if not more. Maybe. I just throw that out.
I have no clue. Matter of fact, one of the people that popped up here was my sister. Her husband's veterinarian, and he's one of them I sent it to, and he was big with cattle, and he'd never seen anything like that.
Interesting. You know, small towns. See, the thing is, it's crazy because small towns have a tendency of getting not to publicity that big cities or not or big towns that that sometimes do. So small towns are sometimes looked over when it comes to something like this. And I'm really surprised, it didn't get. And did it get into the knees, or did it just go right under the rug?
I'm sorry, you were broken. I didn't get much of that.
I said, did it get into the news, or did it just get pushed right up under the rug?
No, we just kept it pretty silent. The lady lives kind of back in timber. She didn't want people coming back in there and poking around and everything.
I understand that you got privacy. I definitely understand that. But nothing else since. It's been quiet.
Yeah, it's been quiet. Yes.
Okay. Now, law enforcement. Man, when you guys, how often do you guys go through evaluation? Every 6 months, every year? Because I know some of the things that you guys have seen is got to be mind blowing.
So, I'm just going to reiterate because it was broken. You asking me, how often we evaluate some of the stuff we've seen?
Right.
A lot of times we do that. How often do we get evaluated? Only if there's.
Go ahead, you break up.
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
I mean, because you guys go to so much, you see so much from accidents to murders to, there's a lot. There's only so much the mind can take. So it would, man, I can just imagine what you go through when you go up on a situation where you know that it's a fatality. So I can just imagine on what you're thinking, your body, the way your body is reacting. It's gonna be hard on you at some point, sometime.
Some people it affects a lot sooner. Some later. I've been doing it for so many years. It's not usually too many things I haven't seen already. And yeah, the good thing is I got a good wife. I can She's in nursing. I can talk to with her, and I can't disclose some information, but at least I can talk to her and go over things with her.
Okay. Man, it's weird. Do you watch YouTube a lot?
I didn't get that.
Do you watch YouTube a lot?
Oh, do I watch YouTube a lot? Yes.
Mhm. Now, there's a lot of cases where law enforcement, or not law enforcement, but people with these cameras, because law enforcement, there's always cameras on. There's cameras everywhere these day and age, and at this day and age, cameras pick up everything. And YouTube was showing us how the fatalities happen, and you'll see people that passed away just float right up in the sky and disappear. Do you believe stuff like that happens?
So, from what I've seen over the years, people ask me, do I believe in ghosts? Do I believe in, paranormal? I know that there's something out there that we are not aware of. If it's another dimension, if it's angels, if it's spirits, there is something out there that we don't know. And that's why I like to do the paranormal, is because I want to find out what is out there.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what, dude? Thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions that you probably never been asked before. Some of them, you have. I'm not going to ask you the basic stuff, what kind of equipment you use and all that stuff, because I kind of have an idea. But
Okay.
I really want to dive into Matt's mind as a true paranormal investigator, what he really thinks about it, and go from there. So, with that being said,
do you have a
first
priest
question of the day for you, Matt.
Do you have a priest to exercise your mind when I'm done?
No, but you know what? I probably can arrange one for me. Man, being a paranormal investigator, it's rich. People think it's a easy thing to do, but being a paranormal investigator is another 9 to 5. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and you need a lot of support. The support aspect of it comes from your community. How does your community perceive on what you do? And what do you think about you guys when you guys are out, just hanging out, and you got your your merch on, you representing, your team and all that stuff. How does your community react to you? What do they think about what you guys do?
I think with TV and everything putting out, all these shows and everything, it's kind of the norm now. So if you're walking around with your stuff on and everything, people will ask about it. Matter of fact, I was at an appointment the other day, and I had a shirt that says I speak 4 languages: sarcasm, profanity, English, and paranormal. And the doctor there asked me about it and was talking to me about it. So people are interested in it. It just a lot of people don't want to get into it because they're kind of scared of what they might find.
Now, why do you think a lot of people are scared of what they might find?
Well, I have a couple of friends that are Hispanic, and the Hispanics a very heavy Catholic, so a lot of them it's religion to them, and it's kind of goes against some of their beliefs. So I think a lot of it has to do with people's religious beliefs.
Okay, so what would you say if I was to come up to Iowa? You don't know me. You know me by the face, by the podcast. And I was to tell you, Matt, let's take a little road trip. So we take a little road trip, and I tell you, I'm going to tell you and show you everything that you wants to know about the other side, whether, just lay it all down to you. What to expect when you pass away, what you're going to see when you pass away, just everything. Will that be enough for you to stop investigating, or would you want to continue investigating? Even though I told you everything that you possibly want to know.
Well, I think even though you tell me everything I want to know, I think every person is different, every belief is different. So I don't know if I would say if everybody is the same. So, especially, this is, 2025. Everybody's demeanor is different than it was 1950s, 1800s. So everything might be different. So history could be interesting to hear.
Okay. So that means you will continue with your journey, even though I
Yes.
was to tell you everything. Okay, cool.
Yes.
You have your family involved in your team, correct?
Yes.
How would your grandparents and your mom, how would they feel about knowing what you do?
Well, my mom is still around. She knows what I do. She just and she was was or is heavy into the church. Um, she believes in angels and demons and this and that. Or her biggest thing is coming me getting involved or having a evil entity attached to me. That's her greatest fear. My grandparents, I had grandparents that were possible psychics. I had a great grandma that could see deaths in the family. So what I'm doing, I think a lot of them would say, "Hey, see what's out there."
Okay. Now, uh, you said your grandparents had the twinkle twitch. Did it skip you by generation and hit one of your kids by chance?
Oh, I don't think the kids really have anything. Now my granddaughter could possibly,
Okay.
because
Now, did
she told us before my daughter was pregnant, or they knew she was pregnant, that she was pregnant with a boy, and his name was going to be Ian.
Oh wow!
And she knew it. And when we did the reveal, she's like, "I told you." She said she talked to the baby.
That's you know what? I've heard that before, and kids. To be honest with you, kids are amazing. If I can keep a kid's mind uh, inside of me, man, there's no telling what I can achieve. and I can open up my mind to, you know what I'm saying? So kids are very, very in tune in themselves.
Well, I had to do an investigation at their house. They had an issue. She had brought a friend home. It started off as kind of an imaginary friend that ended up causing issues. Is a female. After I'd done the investigating, I talked with the previous owner, and their son had actually seen this female in the house at one point. When I told her that she was going to be evicted from the property, we had an evil laugh come over our ghost box, laughing at me.
Oh wow, that's like saying like, yeah, right. I ain't going nowhere. you know, uh,
See, we
go
had
ahead.
cameras thrown. We had cameras thrown. We heard growls. When I cleansed the property and everything, there was a growl from the one room that the camera was thrown in, but they have not had any activity since I did the cleansing.
Now, oh wow, dude. Now, tell everybody just how haunted Iowa is. You know,
Oh,
I
Iowa's
know
got some top 10 hauntings. I mean, we've got the Axe Murder House in Villisca. We have Melbourne Manor in Melbourne, Iowa. Uh, that's the one place that I've gotten the most stuff from. Edinburgh, that's another place that we get some pretty good stuff from. But I've been to houses here in locally that we've gotten crazy stuff. I've been up in the timber because there's Indian mounds in along this bluff, and we even had a Native American female comes through. And we, because we were using dowsing rods at the time, and yes and no answers, and she said she was Native American and the female, and that she's actually in one of these burials.
Now, how can how people are really skeptical about dodging rods? And how do you feel about them?
Well, so my dad used to use them to find water. So they do attract to electricity. I've had it where one time I literally felt we were doing an investigation, and it literally felt like I was getting shocked from the dowsing rods. Zapped. My energy was getting drained and everything. I had asked the dowsing rods to show me where a burial plot was on the property, and three different people with me at three different times. It took me over to the exact same spot. So I believe that with the other equipment you have, that you can verify some of the questions you asked with a dowsing rod.
Okay. Dowsing rod's been around for a long time. I mean, if anybody that in that period, 1800s, 1700s, they would know what a dowsing rod is. Especially, if you're country, if you're from, from the country, or you had your own farm and all that stuff, they definitely know what dowsing rods are. So it's one of those things that's been around for a very, very long time.
And I think they're easier to for entities to manipulate versus some of the electronics, because I don't think it takes as much energy for the dowsing rods as it does, to try to speak or to try to move, a glass or turn on a flashlight.
Right. Man, tell me, how big of a role do
I
you
just
think
lost
that?
you.
Uh-oh. You there?
Yep, I'm here now.
Tell me, how big of a role you think uh, Mother Nature plays in paranormal investigations when you're, when you're out investigating certain locations?
Oh, we lightning storms. It can brew up some pretty good stuff. Um, I'm in law enforcement. I was EMS. That full moon, that is not a joke. You never say the Q word, which is quiet, because you will pay the price.
Mm, interesting. People think that ours is just a smaller state, but like you said, there's a lot of stuff going on up there. Now, is there a lot of things that 'cause a lot of states, especially here in Texas, have a lot of uh, what that's called, where you whether they are here or not. Ah, I forgot. I can't think of the name. It was just on the tip of my tongue. I'm so sorry that I can't think of it. It'll come back to me. God dog it. It messed me up. Uh, I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, we'll come back to it. It'll come back. Next question is, man, what do you think about Hollywood?
Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, as in the movies or just in general.
Hollywood, they're not doing nothing else. I mean, they're not doing anything else, but it seems like there's a lot of paranormal TV shows that are out. There's scary movies that are out that has plenty of paranormal activities in it. I mean, I can go back from Poltergeist all the way up to the most recent movies that allegedly have paranormal activities. Do you think Hollywood and their producers got it right when it comes to TV shows and, and movies, or do you think they add a little here, take a little out? How do you feel about
I
that?
think it goes both ways. I think they have to embellish a little bit to, make for a good movie or TV show. We've been to places where we haven't gotten anything. A good example was when Ghost Hunters first started. They didn't catch much of anything anytime. Well, then all of a sudden, they're wanting them to catch everything, to start saying that because that's what people want to hear. Well, that's not how hauntings work. One minute it could be, on, and next minute you won't catch nothing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, man. That's why you have a lot of patience, and I think patience is the key to being a good paranormal investigator. Patience is the key to everything. So if you
And
don't have that, you don't have that.
and I think you have to have still, even if you do believe, you have to have an open mind. You have to try to debunk as much as you can, because there's always a skeptic. no matter what you catch, no matter how well you document it, whatever, there's always a skeptic. But you just got to do the best you can because we don't have, the best, upgraded, equipment. So we don't know what we're actually looking for.
Right, right. I love a good skeptic. I think without how do you think the world would be without skeptics? Everybody would agree with everybody.
Yeah, I
Even
agree.
though
No, I mean, I try to be, especially watching these TV shows. I pick these TV shows apart, especially the YouTube videos when they're saying, "Oh, look at this haunted." I'm like, you could obviously tell that was a bird or whatever. And I even got my daughter being able to pick out what she thinks is, you know, not true.
right, right. Uh, let's change the subject a little bit. One thing I always ask everybody that comes on the show is why don't I think everybody should have a four-legged member a part of their paranormal team. Do you agree or disagree?
I did it. All I got was paranormal team.
I think that every paranormal team should have a four-legged member on their team. Do you agree or disagree?
A four-legged.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If it wouldn't hurt, because I mean, we'll be sitting in our house and our dogs will catch something that's outside and we didn't even, we don't know it, and then get up or tell them to shut up and go out there, and sure enough, there's something out there that they've heard or seen. And so I believe that these animals see and hear things that we can't.
Right. So, would you think that a dog or a cat would be a good part of the paranormal team?
I would say more likely a dog, because they seem to listen to you a little bit better than a cat does.
Right. Okay.
We've got cats and they don't listen to us at all.
Cats, they do their own thing. But the thing about a cat is they are very attentive. I mean, they might
Oh
not
yeah.
meow, but they will look up and just stare for hours at something that I can't even see that's there, but they'll look up and just keep looking up, and and dude, I mean,
And it might be a mouse. They'll get it. So there you debunk that was that noise, because if it's a mouse or something, they're going to get it.
oh yeah, they are going to get. I always tell people that, man. I think a dog would be a great part of the team. Whether they don't come on regular investigations, but just take them out there every now and then and just see what they see, and hell, what I would do is I'll put a GoPro on one and just have him walk around and just, if he barks, that GoPro, if he allows for him to keep it on his head, that GoPro, once you look up, will be able to capture a possible figure or whatever it is that he's barking at. You might be able to catch it.
And I have a GoPro. Maybe I should try that with my daughter's dog one of these times, because she's a Aussie Shepherd, and she seems to be attuned to a lot of what's going on.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised on what exactly that you'll catch. Uh, Tell me, Matt, how do you feel about cemeteries?
The only downfall I with the cemeteries is, especially if you're using like electric voice phenomenon stuff and everything, digital voice recorders, they're so sensitive that it could pick up a kid talking, at a house, a mile away that we can't hear. That's the only downfall I don't like about outside. But,
Hmm.
you know, every almost every cemetery I hear are pretty much somebody will have some story about a cemetery.
Yeah. What do you think about those pictures I sent you?
Oh yeah, they're crazy. I mean, I sent you some pictures. I sent you that one picture at Edinburgh. We were all all outside. We were walking around with video camera and taking pictures. My video camera didn't catch anything in that window. The
Mm,
camera caught somebody standing there. That was a pretty freaky picture of that one. But
yeah, it was.
you know, it's pretty. I love catching stuff and trying to figure out what it is. That's
Mm,
my biggest fun is it a bug? Is it if it's something we can't just you know d- come up with a idea of what it is, it's paranormal. The skeptics got to agree. If they can't figure out what that happens to be, it's paranormal, truly.
right, right. Now, how do you think? Let's look at the religious aspect of what we do. Why do you think so many religion uh, are afraid of what we do? Do you think they're afraid of us finding out the truth, or do you think they more afraid of us uh, telling them that they're wrong in certain aspects of their religious preaching?
I think it could be both. Um, the aspects of wrong is, every religion is taught something different. Ultimately, we all listen to um, the religion aspect, as in, what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought, but most people believe in a greater being. I mean, yes, there's atheists out there and everything, but most people believe in a greater being. You know, what if it's not a greater being? What if it's another dimension? So then we're looking at, now we could be proving them wrong, or we could turn around and prove them right and say there are angels, there are demons, there are you know there are
Hmm.
ghosts. And some religions don't believe in ghosts.
Right, right. It's hard. It seems like it seems like it's hard out there when it comes to religious groups and religious members trying to convince these guys. It seems like you can prevent. No, it seems like you can put out all the evidence in the world, and they still will not believe in you. They would not believe that this is really going on in the world. And to me, I think it's a fight that somebody's going to have to lose eventually, whether it's the right
Oh
side or
yeah.
the left side. You know, uh, what do you think?
Well, I greatly agree. Like said, one of my buddies was, his Hispanic. He brought his wife on a uh, um, investigation. She was completely intrigued by it, but she's like, I can't do this because it goes against everything I believe in. So, and I don't fault anybody for their, religious beliefs. If
Right.
so because I come in contact with all sorts of religious beliefs.
Yeah, I mean, ooh-wee. Yeah, I've had my encounters, man, with people, calling me all type of different names, just for what I love to do. Hell, I got called a heathen a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, well, damn, I don't know to take that. I mean, I don't know if that's insult or if I'm a, I mean, I don't know. Hell, I've never got called one before. So I don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah,
You know,
I have not been called that before, so been called a lot of names, but not that.
you know, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just a biblical word. I mean, because I don't hear it too often. Even when I was growing up, I didn't hear it too much. I remember my grandmother calling me, my great great grandmother calling me one day, and I'm like, what the heck? But you've been 12 or 10 or 11 or 12 years old, you really don't know what the hell that means until somebody of an elder tells you what it means. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
and you're 10, 12 years old, we are little heathens.
I mean, hell, I got into everything. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah,
I got a grandson, and yeah, he's a like you would call him a feral child. He's a great kid, and he is balls to the wall and into everything.
and that's what kids. That's what kids supposed to do. They get into everything. But as
That's how they
time
learn.
grows, yeah, you're teaching the difference between wrong and right. Yes, no. You know what I'm saying? Because if there was a world when
I
everything
agree.
was just, can you imagine how this world would be? Nobody says no. Everybody says yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it would be great. I mean, they've had team, how many people have tried to do that? I mean,
yeah.
it's in history with people trying to do that.
Not cool, dude. Not cool at all. Uh, dude, how does the community feel about you guys when you guys are out and about? What is the one positive and the one negative thing that people always tell you guys?
Well, the negative is, um, my wife is probably one of those where she's like, um, no, 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 you're not getting me in that building or around that. Period. Um, and then there's other people that are all like, man, that sounds so cool what you do. Can we'd like to do it sometime. Can we come with you sometime? And I'm like, you guys can come with me anytime you want. As long as you aren't going to manipulate evidence, because I want true evidence. I don't want anything manipulated, because to me that just opens up a whole can of worms that nobody wants to deal with.
Right, right, right. Yeah, dude, you really don't want to do that. Uh, Tell me a little bit about, some of your investigations. What do you guys mostly focus on? Residential, commercial, urban, cemeteries. What does Boma Paranormal Investigations? What do you guys focus on when you guys are out there looking for a place to investigate?
Well, we've been to, like I said, we've been to the Vitliska Axe Murder House. We've been to Edinburgh. We've been to the big ones in Iowa. But been to around here residents where people are having, hey, we had hear footsteps upstairs at night. Would you come and check it out for us? We do, we've done several of those schools. We did a few schools in the area. we were supposed to keep it quiet, and then they decided that one of the buildings they were going to have a haunted house in. So then they were saying, "Hey, we had a paranormal group in here, and it's haunted." So we kept it quiet, like they asked us to, but then they're like, "Hey, it's haunted too."
Oh wow. Okay. Now I can we can say that October is probably the best time of the month for you guys.
It's my birthday too.
Oh, well, okay. Hey, you can
I have a
only,
Halloween birthday.
I mean, hey, you can only be 29 twice, right?
Exactly.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong. 29 is a good number, man. It's the number where your knee is you right there stuck between your knees start aching. There's a lot going on when you're 29 because you're about to hit that 30 mark and everything's really is going to start hurting when you hit 30. Oh my God.
And then when you hit 40, it's like, you know, you've hit the train hit you, or one of the two. But I'm not superstitious because I was born on Halloween, so I can't be superstitious.
No, you can't be. Speaking of superstitious, man, you guys have oh golly, dude, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't freaking remember the word. Mm-mm-mm. Damn kids. Uh you guys have you guys got anything out there? I'm gonna use another word. Have you got anything out there that you really can't explain on certain locations? Because a lot of people always talk about certain locations, the history of it. Like here in Texas, man, we got Goatman's Bridge. Hell, every state has a Goatman's Bridge. And me myself, I don't want to waste my time going 5 hours up to Dallas just to investigate a bridge. The witch's grave. I mean, there's a witch's grave in every state in America. What do you guys have that's been, you know, legend from time of, when you was a kid all the way up to your kids, and now your grandkids are going to hear the same thing. Tell me some of those stories.
Well, Van Meter, Iowa, has been on several of the winged, like Mothman. Supposedly was buried in a mine and everything. That's been on several of the shows. Van Meter, Iowa. I've not ever been there to see this property because it's all on private property. But that's a legend that goes on for that's been going on since the 1800s.
Interesting.
And then Veliscanax Murder House, that was an 1800s murder that's still unsolved.
Yeah, I heard she got over that. Yeah, she case. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. And that was a weird. All these well-known locations that you guys been to, I bet you it cost you a pretty penny to get into.
There are some that are getting up there in expense wise, but the ones here in Iowa are fairly inexpensive. Now, if you want to go to, the penitentiaries and stuff like that, there's where you start getting into, costs and everything. especially if you want to do a private investigation.
Okay. How conservative are the people in Iowa?
How conservative, as in
I mean,
political conservative, or
no, I mean, when I mean conservative, I mean as far as paranormal, because people down here in Texas are conservative for the simple fact is they they really, if something's going on in their house or location, and some of them are just okay with it. They're not gonna call you, but they are. If they call you, they want you to be very discreet with it because they're afraid on what their neighbors might think about what's going on in your residence. But they also have to. What gets me? Well, I don't understand about certain people is, especially the most ones that are conservative, is the same thing that can be happening in my location can be happening in your location. The only problem is you're not saying anything about it. You know what I'm saying?
exactly. I would say Iowa is about the same. They're like I was saying, one of the co founders with me, his dad lives in a house, and he's to a point where it's active, but he's been so used to it, he doesn't even notice it anymore. Something falls off a shelf or whatever, he doesn't even pay attention. It's like, oh, you know, something knocked it off. Who cares? Didn't break or whatever. We get a lot of that here too, where people, hey, come check out our house, but yet, then they're like, well, we don't want you to come because, like you said, they're afraid of what other people will think, or they're afraid that we might actually, find something they don't want to know about. Maybe it's not, their long lost sister or family member. Maybe it is an actual, evil entity that is causing issues.
Right, right. You never know until you get in there, man. That's why I think people are just, you need to figure it out, because having something like that in your residence can cause mental problems. It's bad enough that we're in a world now where there's a lot of, mental psychology. There's a lot of mental things going on to people, and more than ever, and most of it is due to the medication that these people are taking, the pharmaceuticals that are putting unknown medications into these medications. They put medication inside of the medication. And
Exactly.
it's getting to a
Well, what
point
about these
where,
energy drinks?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. It's ridiculous. So the biggest one that I have for you is all of your cases, residential. Give me a percentage. Give me a number of cases that has been just mental. It hasn't been anything paranormal. It's just been somebody's been off their meds and they just, they can't cope with it. They don't have the money to get their meds, and some of these drugs have hallucinant drugs in there that make you do things that you don't want to do, make you see things you don't want to see.
I agree to a point, but I like to listen to audiobooks when I'm driving, and so I listen to a lot of paranormal audiobooks. And one of them I listened to talked about demons, and it was talking about a lot of these people that we think are schizophrenic, um, may not actually be schizophrenic. They might be actually possessed. And he was describing a situation that he came upon. And one of the cases we've worked with, um, an individual almost to a T, textbook of what he said was what was going on with this person. And so, you know, is it due to these drugs? I know that meth is a big one. Um, especially here around us, we have a lot of. We can tell when a new shipment of meth comes in because our frequent schizophrenics, our frequent tweakers, they just go crazy. They'll be out dancing in the streets, doing whatever. But um, this other guy said that he thinks that more people are more, that there's a possession more than there is an actual mental thing. And I thought that was quite intriguing listening to what he had to say.
Interesting. I didn't think about it like that. Uh, it could be a possibility, but people's minds these days are a little bit more open, and people today are doing things they're really not supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and depression is a big one. He
Yes.
was saying that these people that are depressed, have, let's say you're depressed, you just lost, you've got a history of that, but you just lost your wife or a child or whatever. Now you're in a deeper depression. It opens you up to vulnerability to be attacked.
Yes. I really think grief makes you weak, so weak that it's at a point where you really don't care uh what's around you, who
Exactly.
you with, and this and that. Once grief sets in, it takes control of your whole body from head to toe. You're doing things out of the ordinary. You're saying things out of the ordinary. If anybody that's ever lost a loved one, I think everybody on this planet has lost a loved one. So, but people take grief in different ways. Some people take harder than others, but grief can definitely change one's mindset on everything. Like you say, it can open you
I
up to
mean,
something.
grief causes divorces. It does everything.
Yeah, people can say that grief can be a part of being a demon because it's so ugly and it hurts. So, what is the one thing that a demon does? It causes anguish. It causes pain, suffering. Thing that grief does. You know what I'm saying? So, who's to say that grief is not a part of something bigger? Don't really know. But I do know that having, losing someone that you've been seeing your whole life, and in a couple of seconds, everything's uh, oh, we lost him.
I'm sorry. I'm back. Somehow, all of a sudden, I got dropped.
Oh, that's okay. Grief it plays. You know, there's nothing nice about grief. You know what I'm
No.
saying? grief is a little demon within itself. Now, I don't know if you can put the two together, but I do know that they both cause significant pain between both of them. You
And I
know, so
think with grief, a lot of it too is if you have a strong support system, it it helps. But everybody goes through stages of grief differently,
hmm
so it would be hard to say how you're going to if it ever comes to you how you're going to handle it because everybody handles it differently.
totally, you're absolutely right, my friend. And trust me, when I lost my wife for 30 something years, hell, I didn't even know how to take that. That is a life
No, I'm
changing
sorry for your
thing.
loss.
I it was just something that I could not comprehend. I did not understand. I did not want to understand. The only thing that matters was bringing her back. I didn't care about nothing else. I didn't care about the bills. I felt like I was possessed. I didn't care about nothing, and that's the way a
No, I
possession.
completely understand.
And and to me, possession is the same way. You forget about the things that you love the most. You start doing the things that you isolate yourself. And once you isolate yourself, that's when it has you. It's gonna grab you by your neck and it's gonna squeeze and squeeze and it's gonna just squeeze every little bit out of you till you pop like a pimple.
Yep.
And once you pop like a
And
pimple,
that's when you end up either in a hospital, a psych ward, or suicide. I mean, it can cause that too.
yeah, yeah. It can. I was just reading today on YouTube about a man who was married to his wife for 57 years and she passed away suddenly. And he was in so much grief, he ended up passing away from a lonely heart.
Yep. Oh yeah, my wife and I have both seen that where, um, yeah, a spouse passes away and the other spouse dies shortly after of a broken heart.
Broken heart. And I can't and I've seen a case where I've seen it where people pass away and there's significant others there, and the way that this person is, and I'm like, wow, dude, you okay? And you can tell he's brokenhearted, and he say, man, I'm just I'm just here now. So a couple weeks later, he ended up having a heart attack and dying of a broken heart. Can you imagine having a heart attack and dying of a broken heart?
I had
That
a gentleman that spouse passed away. He had just been to the doctors that day, seen a cardiologist, and was cleared 100% by a cardiologist. Not a half an hour later, we're doing CPR on him and bringing him back to the hospital. He died of a heart attack.
that's wow. Yeah, that grief can take you. A lot of people, and I could be wrong, but a lot people look at grief as if it's like you say, a little demon. You know what? And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people can't handle grief, like you say. A lot of people can't. A lot of people won't. And if it ever comes your way, which I'm pretty sure it will, but it's going to come to everybody. Grief is something that,
The worst part of grief is it is your own mind. Your
yeah,
mind is your worst enemy when it comes to grief, loss, anything like that. Or
yeah,
let's say you got in trouble and and that, and you're not used to getting in trouble, or something happens at work and you got fired, you're at home, you sit there by yourself, your mind starts, you know, playing, all these messages saying, hey, you're worthless, you got fired, how are you going to make ends meet? Your mind is your own worst enemy.
Yo, definitely, definitely. And how do you get past that?
I think
I mean,
your big thing is, you're gonna have to, either your faith or your family, friends, you know you have to have a strong circle.
yes, I agree with you. Very strong circle, and this day and age, that's a rarity. A lot of people don't really have strong circles.
No, it's these phones. You can, shoot. We saw it one time where my daughter was sitting right next to her friend, and they were texting back and forth. They weren't. They You can't talk. You're sitting right next to each other. There's none of that anymore. These phones have, created its own monster.
Yes, but you think our generation for doing that? You think the Bill Gates and all the people that was putting the technology together in the 70s when we were growing up, just think how this world would be if they never created, Microsoft never invented, the iPhone was never invented, these games, Bill Gates never existed. Just think how the world would be today. I think the kids would be outside playing football somewhere in the field, better yet in the house, playing video games. That's just my take on it.
I agree. I completely agree. We grew up outside. That's why they say the Gen Xers, we grew up outside, drinking the water, testing electric fences, stuff like that.
Uh,
These kids
not,
now, they don't know any of that.
not only is that, dude, drinking water, man, you know how many times I went to a water faucet with the water hose and drunk water from there? These kids, if they see anybody doing that, oh, what are you doing there? You're gonna kill yourself. It's only water.
Exactly. And actually, I think growing up, the water out of the well was far better than this bottled water. This bottled water to me has like no flavor, no nothing. It's just like
Not nothing.
you're drinking something wet and that's it.
Yeah, you don't know what you're drinking. Has it been? They say it's been purified. Purified to what? You don't really know.
And what chemicals did you use to purify it?
Exactly. What chemicals out there that's not harmful to for us to drink? You never know. Is your wife a by chance?
Yeah, she's sitting right next to me.
Okay, I don't want her to jump in the picture, but I want her to participate in this in this part of the podcast, and I
He
want
wants
her.
you to participate. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I thought I lost you for a second again.
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm here.
she's here. She can hear you.
Okay, and what's your wife's name?
Carrie?
Her name is Terry.
Carrie, Kari.
Oh, Carrie. Oh, okay. I thought you said Carrie. I'm like, oh man, we got the same we got the same name. Hi, Carrie. How you doing today, man?
Good, thanks.
Good, good. Now, this question is this little short story is going to be mostly about your husband, but I want you to play. You're going to play a major role in this because I think that women of the house or play major roles in everything that we do as men. Hell, we can't go to the grocery store without asking. You know what I'm saying? I just want to throw. I'm gonna throw this story out here, and I want you to tell me what you think. Okay, how long you guys been married?
20. It'll be 27 years in September.
27.
Yep.
27 years. Okay. Now, so 27 years, you kind of have an idea on what kind of work schedule Matt has. He'll tell you when it changes. He'll tell you when he'll work graveyard shifts. He'll tell you everything about his life when it comes to him going to work, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool. So, Matt, are you off on weekends?
No, my days off are Mondays and Tuesdays.
Mondays and Tuesdays. Okay, I'm going to pick on the Monday. We're going to pick on Mondays. Okay, let's say, Monday just say you got off of work late Sunday night and you call Carrie and Carrie asks you, oh, you call Carrie and Carrie's like, well, what's for dinner? And you're like, well, I'm cooking this for dinner, blah, blah, blah. So Carrie said, okay, that's you. But you say, okay, that's fine. You hang up the phone. How far do you live from your job? I mean, I know you're a patrol officer. How far are you from the office to the house?
Well, I have a take-home car, so my office is out in my garage.
Oh, okay, cool. Because you got a garage also. Okay, so your garage gonna play a part into this conversation also. Okay, so
Okay.
how many red lights are in Latte?
What's that?
How many red lights are in Latte?
Yeah, how many red lights in Let's? None.
Oh my God. Okay, how many stop signs?
I'm not 100% sure because we live out in the country. We actually deal with the city of Muscatine, which is about 50,000. Is it? Yeah, right around 50,000 people. We actually go there and deal with that
Kim,
more often.
can you come get her?
Okay.
And they have several stop signs. They have several stop lights, everything.
Okay, so you're driving home and you come to a four-way stop. Now, when you get to this four-way stop, every now and then your mind seems to drift. Now, you drift and you start thinking about something. In the meantime, you look to the left and you see this big ball of light, Matt, come at you. And you just thinking, well, maybe it's an airplane, a low-flying airplane, but it pierces your car, your window, they hit you right in the chest. It kind of stopped you for a minute, and it kind of knocks you unconscious for I can say maybe 10 seconds. But you get up, you wake up, and you're like, shit, what was that? But you don't pay no mind to it. It's like, you're tired, your mind playing tricks on you. So you started driving, and you get home, and you pull the car up to the driveway, you get out, and you go in the house, and Carrie was like, hey, how would that work? And you're like, oh, it's fine, blah, 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 blah. Typical Sunday evening, Monday, however, whatever, that you do. But it was only like 7:30. This is, 7:30 p.m. What time do you normally go to bed, man?
Oh, right around 9-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, 9-ish. Okay, so Carrie cooked dinner because that's something I talked about at the stop sign. So dinner's cooked. So, you go to bed a little early, which is a little unusual because your next day off is your day off. So I don't know if you normally stay up on your day off or do you just head on out because you are in a routine?
I try
So
to stay to the routine, but it doesn't always happen.
yeah, me too. But anyway, so you get up the next morning and you get up early, you know, and Carrie was like, it's your day off. Why are you getting up so early? And he's like, oh, well, I just don't feel like sleeping anymore. So you get up and you have this thing in your mind. You know, men sometimes have certain pressures that they have, that if it's something that a man wants to do, he's going to do it. And you know, if I want to go buy that new lawnmower, I'm going to go buy. I don't care what nobody say. So you got that pressure on you that you want to go to Home Depot or Lowe's. So you go, you get up, you tell Carrie you go on to Home Depot, but you don't know exactly what you're going to Home Depot for. Have you done that before? Kind of weird.
Have I ever done that before?
Yeah.
I've gotten up and started getting dressed for a call when I wasn't on call or anything like that before. But I have gone to a store and, not really with the plan just to go to a store.
Yeah.
But
So,
not really one where I just wake up and go just to go.
He doesn't go many places by himself.
uh-oh. Okay.
He usually likes to have somebody with him. He's always, talking somebody with him.
I understand that. So you get into your vehicle, your personal vehicle, and you go to Home Depot and you start buying stuff that you normally don't buy. You buy this, you buy that, and they're just certain things that you normally don't buy, but you're buying it. So you at the Home Depot for like an hour, and you're picking up all these things, and you just land on the counter and you scratching your head. And you're like, what the hell do I need this for that for this and that? So you put it in the bag, you get back home, and you drive up, and Carrie asks, well, where you been? He's like, oh man, I've been hanging around the Home Depot, which is a little unusual. So you go, do you guys got a basement?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you hang out in the basement or do you hang out in the garage more?
The main floor of the house more.
Okay, so we'll pick the basement. So
that's fine. The bar's in the basement.
There you go. There you go. See, that also leads into the story. Okay, are you a big tour guy by chance?
No, not too bad. Not too much.
Okay, so in this story, you have a bunch of tools. So you go down in the basement and you start banging on stuff like you're building something. You're bang, bang, nuts and bolts. You're doing this, and and as you building it, your mind is running. Seems like your mind is telling you, you're trying to keep up with your mind, but you can't. And it's constantly going. And the more you build, and the more your mind is racing, because you're trying to figure out what exactly that you're doing. Well, believe it or not, man, time flies because now it's almost dinner time. Now, Carrie made some of Carrie's homemade spaghetti. Now, Carrie, you cook your spaghetti in the oven or on top of the oven?
On top.
Oh, darn. Well, today you put it in the oven. And you threw it down with some cheese, a lot of ground beef, a lot of salt, not salt, but sauce, and you put it in the oven. Do you cook bread?
Yes.
Okay, you do it sounds like a lot of starch, but it's really not. So you put all that in the oven and you go downstairs to the basement and you say, hey, honey, Dinner would be done in 20 minutes. By then, Matt has built what his mind told him to build. Now, you in the basement, hey, he puts this thing on the pool table. And he's just looking at it, and you say, honey, what is that? You're like, I don't know. But at that time, everything that told you to build it is now gone. That sense of urgency that you had is now gone. So it seemed like somebody put something into you to make you build this contraption. So, there's a little on switch to it. And Carrie asks you, like, hey, you gonna cut it on? There's a little switch right there. But man, you're like, oh no, I'm too scared to do that. So Carrie said, well, hell, I'll do it. So she reaches over on the pool table and flips that switch. And a big surge of energy comes out of it. And it shoots right to the wall. And once it hits that wall, it opens up a portal. And with this portal, you're able to see everything. You can see a Home Depot over there. You can see a Macy's over there. Hey, you even see that Starbucks right there. It's like another city. And people just going about their day. But the one thing that hits you, that catches your eye, Matt, is this little old lady. She's walking by with bags in her hands, and she stops, and she waves at you. And y'all look at each other and like, who is this lady waving at me? I don't know that lady. I don't even know. Your minds are so buzzled that you try to figure out what's going on. In the meantime, you got this lady waving at you. So this lady waving at you and say, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to come talk to you. She comes, she steps through it. She steps through the portal, comes up to Matt and gives Matt a big old hug and say, hey, Matt, how you doing? Man, I really missed you. Give you a big fat kiss on the cheek. And goes to Carrie and say, hey, Carrie, I always wanted to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. You're doing such a great job with my grandson. I really appreciate the things that you're doing with him, and gave you a big fat kiss on the cheek also. In the meantime, you guys are trying to figure out who this is, because she was not born in y'all's lifetime. So Matt looks at you, Carrie. You look at Carrie, and Carrie smells something burning. It must be the spaghetti. So Carrie rushes back upstairs to check on the spaghetti and the cornbread, And so, Matt, you're like, what the hell, dude? Who's this woman in my house? So she comes, she puts her bag down, and she sits on the couch, and she says, come and sit by me, and let's talk. So you go over there, you always do what elders tell you to do. If an elder tell you to come sit down, that's what you do. You go sit. No ifs and buts about it. If I didn't, I got in trouble. So she comes down.
Your elders.
Huh?
You respect your elders.
Always. So you went and sat down beside her, and she just goes off and said, hey, me and Grandpa are so proud of you. Me, especially because you're doing such a great job. I am so proud of you. Don't be in such a hurry to come visit us, because we're always watching you. The kids, the grandkids, Carrie, we are always watching you. So don't never think that we are not here, because we are always here. Not just me, but all the ones that came before me also. So your lineage from God knows when, they're all watching you and making sure that you're protected, you're doing the right thing. You know, so with that all being said, time flies by. She looks at her watch and says, "Oh man, I gotta get back home. I gotta get home because I gotta cook Grandpa some dinner." So she gets up, gives you a big fat kiss and a hug, and say, "Hey, grandson, I am so proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing. Tell Carrie I'm sorry that I wasn't able to talk to her. Tell the grandkids I said hello." And she walks back into the portal and just waves off and walks off. Now, mind you, there's other people walking, but you don't know those people. You don't know them. So Carrie comes downstairs and say, "Hey, where did the lady go?" And she was like, you were like, "Oh, she had to go. That was grandma." So Carrie reaches over there, shuts off the switch on the device, and holds it in her hand. You know, and says, "Well, did you learn anything?" And he's like, "Well, I know that grandma and grandpa and all the elders before me, I know they're watching me." You know, so she held it in her hand and she's like, "Well, what are you going to do with this device now?" You know, so the big question that I have for you, Matt, is with technology like that, what are you going to do with it? But there's rules and regulations to having this device. You can't share it. You can't duplicate it because the technology that you had to make it is no longer in your mind. So you don't know how to duplicate it again. So all you have is that one device that you're able to communicate with loved ones that have been moved on. So what are you going to do with that device?
That'd be a good question. Because I mean, it would be nice to sit down and find out, family history from some of your relatives, because, there's lineage that we aren't, we know the Madsen family came from, you know, some of them came from Norway and this and that. And somehow our name has changed a little, but it'd be nice to talk to the people and find out more about your history and what they had to go through, you know in their days, like, and so it'd be kind of cool just to get the history lesson from your relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know what my
So,
wife would do with it.
okay.
I'd put it somewhere.
She would drop it on the floor and make damn sure I wasn't able to mess with that again.
Interesting. Okay. So we know what Carrie would do with it. What would you do with it? Would you tell would you tell your children, or
Oh,
would you tell them?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty open with the kids. Well, especially because I have two of them, that go with me on these investigations. So they would be more than well. And then history, my son-in-law, he was a history major in college. So, if it's something with history, he would be wanting to be right there and listening.
But it's not made for him. It's just made for you. It's made for
I
you
know,
and
but
your
he'd want to hear, about Norwegians. He'd want to hear about Germans. He'd want, because, the books only tell a story for that person.
Mhm.
What if they were involved with, concentration camps? What if they weren't involved with other thing? It'd be kind of fine. We don't know about everybody, what some of these people did on a day-to-day basis.
Right, right. Mm, you're absolutely right. So, would you keep it or would you get rid of it?
I would probably keep it and use it to ask lots of questions.
All right, okay. Carrie, would you allow him to keep it?
No, yes, yeah, I would. I just wouldn't want him to do it in the house.
Huh? Well, that's a part of that's a part of his of well, it has to be in the house. I mean, it won't work unless it's in the house. Is the basement considered a part of the house?
Yes.
What about the
I
garage?
don't really spend that much time in the basement though, so I suppose if he was doing it in the basement, that'd be fine.
That'd be fine. Okay. Now,
But I don't know because I just lost my father recently, so now that I've lost someone very close to me, I don't know if I would say that anymore.
hmm, okay. Okay. Interesting. Uh Now with that being said, Carrie, this is the part for you to answer for me. If if you guys was to decide that if it was possible to share this with the world, would you allow Matt to do so?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you allow Matt to share this technology with the world, do you think the world would be able to handle it?
Not everybody would, no.
So, how do you think the religion aspect of it? How do you think those guys handle something like this?
There would be some people I would assume religious or not, there'd be some people that would have a problem with it. So I don't know that
Mm,
religion always would play a role in that.
right. So, would you say that would be some out
I think
there?
I think the scientific community would have maybe more of a problem than the religious community
Can you explain why?
because they're very like physical proof, factual proof. They would have a hard time believing something like that. They
But
would have
the
a hard
religious
time believing in magic.
But wouldn't don't you think the religion aspect will have a bigger part to play for the simple fact is they've been preaching the same old for millions of years. Now here come Kelly and Matt Madison coming up with a device that can change the world. Don't you think that would be a bigger part to play than the scientific
I think
aspect
I
of it?
think it would be. I think it would be a big because a lot of people don't like change,
Right.
and something I think it kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier in the fact that you know in the religion aspect of it, you talk to God, you pray this and that, and they talk about the pearly gates and this and that. Well, you're seeing what could potentially be
Proof that God exists.
proof that either God exists or that it's not heaven's not what we think it is. And because you were saying you see a Starbucks, you see this. Okay, is this heaven or is this something else?
Mm, okay. And what would happen if certain governments get their hands on this and other governments don't? I've seen
Oh,
wars in
I,
history. There's been wars in history that's been started over something much simpler than this.
oh yeah.
So
It
how do
would
you
cause some definite because everybody's going to want to try to use it for their benefit.
Mhm.
somehow. Everybody's going to say, this government's going to say, well, we can use this and, make a weapon out of it. Maybe we can make this portal and the portal will suck people up and, or, they're going to try to weaponize. Some of them are going to try to weaponize it. Some are going to think it's, like the Holy Grail and it's going to be worshipped. So yes, I agree. It would probably cause wars.
Yeah. So would it be better to say that better off not sharing it with the world and just keeping it within
I
you
believe that you would probably be better off to keep it in the basement, or like I said, maybe even better off to destroy it.
there?
For better reasons, it might be smarter just to destroy it too.
Yeah, you might be right on that. But you won't be able to see grandpa, or you won't be able to see grandma again, not until it's your turn.
No, but I have my other paranormal gear. We can try to find a way to chat.
Well, we're gonna find a way, But it's weird how certain things uh, that people don't understand. They try to lay claim to certain things and don't know just how hurtful it can be to the world. And that's why I always throw that little story out there. Oh, Carrie, by the way, I love your spaghetti, man. It was great.
She burned it.
Yeah, I really hey, hey, I was gonna say that, but then I just said it.
She does make her own sauce, though.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So we come to an agreement that you guys would keep it and you guys wouldn't share it with the world, even though you guys think the world certain individuals might be able to handle it. Like Carrie said, the scientific community might be able to understand it, but the scientific community also leads into the religion aspect of it. And once the religion aspect of it gets a hold of it, there's government, uh, you know, that would be a part of it. So I think it'll just dwindle down to Lord knows what can happen. Because I've seen these knuckleheads fight for far less smaller things than a device like that. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you.
No, I completely agree.
I have to agree
I completely agree. I've seen people fight over stupid stuff in a grocery store. I mean,
yeah.
so
Give me that jar of peanut butter.
exactly.
Yeah, but okay. Well, you know what? That is a story that's always, I've asked a lot of people that, what they think, what they might do, and everybody's different. Some people say they would keep it. Some people say would destroy it. Some people say they would put it back on the shelf. They would put it on the shelf until a couple of generations, until they found out the actual how to deal with it. Because we know right now, man, there's not too many things that man can deal with. You know what I'm saying? And I know.
And here's another thing. Here's another thing you could look at it is the paranormal community. Are they going to think that that light that hit me that caused me to have this? Do they think that's a unidentified? Did aliens put that in my head and help me build that? Are we looking at another dimension? There's so many aspects that could be looked at.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But the thing about the paranormal community is we need to, before we even be judgmental like that, we need to be able to sit down at the side, at the table with all these other individuals and bring ourselves to the table. I mean, if we can't get to the table, then what's the point of even presenting something to sit at the table when they're not going to take us serious anyway? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So the scientific community, they look at us as a bunch of knuckleheads that are out there producing evidence, and and I always ask people, is as much evidence that we produce to the scientific world, why come we not sitting at the table? For one, we don't have the unity like everybody else that's sitting at the table. Two, we fight and bigger and among ourselves. So who's going to take us seriously? And if
Right.
we can find a way to solve those problems and come together as a community as a whole, I really don't see us ever sitting at the table, no matter how much evidence that we put out into the world for the world to see.
Right. Exactly.
So,
Ed, Ed and his wife, Warren's, they came the closest to be sitting at that table, and they still didn't sit at the table.
No, they didn't. For the simple fact is, I think, hell, I don't even know why, because they presented so much, but like, again, the scientific community, they looked at the judge. I mean, they looked at them like, well, you present this, present that, but it's not 100%. I mean, it's not really something that you can actually bring. I mean, you can, all the evidence, no. They just looked at it as a joke, and they just basically moved on to something else. You know what I'm saying? So, but hey,
I mean, that couple presented so much evidence, and and it wasn't just witnessed by them. There was people, law enforcement. There was all sorts of people that witnessed this stuff, and it was all kind of discredited.
Yeah. That's how powerful the table is. The scientific community is probably the most powerful community assembled, because you got different people, you got different theories. I mean, there's so many different people there that breaks everything down and analyzes it. They'd be quick to say, hey, I see this, but then they'll find a million one other ways of like, hey, I see this, but I also see that. I don't think this is that, and it was really hard. And what's so crazy about then is they didn't have AI generated stuff like we do today. They just couldn't take a camera and photo crap that crap, because it was unheard of back in those days.
Exactly. They didn't have CGI back then.
They didn't have any of that. Now, I'm not saying that
Nope.
it can be done, but I'm just saying is I've never heard of it for it to actually be done. You know what I'm saying? But man, two more questions, man, and I'm going to get you out of here, brother. First question is, where would you like to go on your paranormal bucket list? Anywhere in the world?
Actually, I would actually love to go overseas to some of those castles and that stuff like that. Some of those places to, the medieval castles and stuff like that. I think those would be so cool to tour. Dracula's castle, that's infamous, and stuff like that. I just think those would be so cool to go and check out.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think most of those places are cool as hell. One moment.
Did you lose him again?
No, he had to step away for a sec.
Sorry about that, guys. All right, so
No problem.
all right, Matt, tell the world how to get a hold of you, man.
You can. I have a YouTube channel, which is the Boma Paranormal. Let's see here if I can give you the actual YouTube channel, because if you Google it, sometimes it'll pop up, sometimes it won't. So if I could give you the actual channel, that would be a lot easier. It's at Boma, which is BOMA, and it's a dash GR5LY. That's our YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, Boma Paranormal. There isn't a lot of stuff on it, but there will start to be more and more stuff on the YouTube and everything. I finally found somebody that can cut my videos and start posting them for me, and so we have lots of footage that we need to get on there, but it's a slow process. You know, not everybody wants to do this, so finding certain people, tech support, stuff like that, it's not the easiest.
Right, I totally agree with that. I'm gonna have to redo my whole podcast area because it has not been acting right in a couple of weeks. So I need to figure out if it's my laptop or something going on. Maybe I got too much stuff opened up here. You never know, but I definitely gotta get this going. So I'll be ready to go here for next week. But anyway, Matt, it has been a pleasure speaking with you, Carrie. I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Hey, man, keep up the great work. And dude, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, see, the sound is horrible. But thank you.
Well, thanks. I had a blast. You definitely asked some questions I have not been asked. So yeah, you had to make me think about it.
Hey, I don't mind that. That's the fun part. That is definitely the fun part. But hey, you enjoy the rest of your evening. Don't forget to eat the spaghetti and cornbread now.
I'll have to have her make some of that this week.
I can make it tomorrow.
Okay. So hey, but all right. Well, hey, sorry, Irene, but yeah, you're a little late there, buddy. So hey guys, this is Terry with NSPS TV Paranormal signing off. Hope to see you guys next Friday and next Saturday. Next Sunday is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there that and I wish you guys a great day. You know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, hey, I'll talk to you guys next week. So, hey, peace. All right, Matt and Carrie, you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and you'll be hearing from me soon.
Yep. You have a great weekend and enjoy.
All right, you guys take it easy now.
Yep. You too.